In the previous class, we have learned that the government implement equality through different kinds of laws and also through different government schemes and programs. We have also learned the provisions under the Article 15. By different programs and schemes, government always tries to uplift the disadvantaged groups. The disadvantaged groups are the groups and the society who are facing inequality. So say it are the poor, the landless, the low caste, the women and all. So today we will come across midday meal scheme. So midday meal scheme was one of the important program which was initiated by the government of India to uplift other disadvantaged groups. Let's see what it is in detail.
Midday meal program refers to the programs introduced in all government elementary schools to provide children with the cooked lunch. So what is this elementary school? The school till 7th standard or the classes till 7th standard. So midday meal scheme was introduced to provide or to give cooked lunch for children of government elementary school, and the first state to introduce midday meal scheme was Tamil Nadu. Later you can see in 2001 Supreme Court of India asked all other states to start this program within the next 6 months. And this program had many positive impacts too. Let us see some of them. So first one is enrollment ratio increased. So now after the introduction of this program, you can see more students started joining the school. And second one, dropout ratio decreased. Earlier students used to stop their education in between due to poor economic backgrounds. Now this kind of dropout decreased considerably. Then third point is regular full day attendance. So before, children used to go back to their homes to have lunch. For the afternoon session, they will not come back. The introduction of midday meal scheme program stopped this crisis. Now the students are attending full day classes. Then there was a notable regularity in attendance too. Then fourth point, you can see no interruption for mothers' work. So earlier there were interruptions for the work of mothers, since the working mothers, they had to come to their houses at noon to feed or to give food to their children. Now they don't have to come home like that, because the meal is available at the school itself, right? Now next point is reduced caste prejudices. So why it is said as like it reduced a midday meal scheme or midday meal program reduced caste prejudices. So because the midday meal scheme or midday meal program was meant for all. It was not meant for any special caste. And in some places you can see that Dalit women were employed as cooks. The next point, midday meal scheme reduced the hunger of the poor students. So earlier poor students used to come to school with their empty stomachs, and they were unable to concentrate in the classes and all. Now a solution has come for it, right? So from this, you might have understood the government programs or schemes can play an important role in reducing inequality by providing equality in opportunities. How the government programs or schemes are trying to bring equality or trying to reduce inequality. So it is by providing equality in opportunities. Here you can see the midday meal scheme was not meant for any particular caste or any particular group in the society. It was meant for all, right? But you have to remember there are differences in the implementation of midday meal schemes all across the country. There are places where we can see poor are discriminated or the Dalits are still discriminated. So, much more to be done to solve this problem, right? Why this kind of discrimination prevails or exists even if we have laws that guarantees equality? Have you ever think about it? So now the simple reason is people's mindset. The people are not ready to think themselves as equal. There are stereotypes like a caste should remain within a specified boundary, then women are weaker than men, like that, right? But we have to understand that no one is inferior in the society, no one is so superior to, all are equal. Every person deserves a treatment which will not break one's dignity. When people start thinking like this, whole situation and attitudes will change. Now, my question is the problem of inequality or discrimination a problem of India alone? What about the other democracies? Now, let us take an example of United States of America, USA. USA is a country where the African Americans are treated unequally. African Americans were whose ancestors were brought to America as slaves from Africa. So that kind of a consideration was given to this group, and they were treated unequally in the American society, and they were considered as blacks. The denial of equality was made through law in USA. And you have to remember in India, the laws are made to eliminate inequality. But in USA, what was happening? Through law, the denial of equality was made or done. For example, in USA, when traveling by bus, the African Americans had to sit at the back of the bus or get up from their seat whenever a white person wished to sit. Okay, now an incident happens in 1955 and it was on December 1st. An African American lady, and her name was Rosa Parks. She was traveling by bus. She was very tired after her work and going back to her home. She got a seat in the bus. So, in between, a white man or a Native American came and asked for the seat. But this lady, Rosa Parks, refused to give a seat for this white man. Later, you can see her refusal led to a huge agitation against unequal treatment of African Americans. And this movement came to be known as civil rights movements. So these are the happenings in America you have to remember. Results of civil rights movement of 1950s, or the impact of civil rights movements we will see here. So first one is the Civil Right Act of 1964. Okay, so a Civil Right Act was come into being in 1964 after the civil rights movements. Okay, so under this, the discrimination on the basis of race or color, religion or national origin was prohibited. Then, now the schools would be open for both African American and whites. So earlier there were separate schools for African American as well as whites. Now there is no provision of separate schools. So even though the Civil Right Act of 1964 tried to bring equality in the society, it was not 10% or 100% successful. Still, a majority of African Americans are the poorest in the country. So we can see African American students are getting government schooling with limited facilities and poorly qualified teachers. Okay, but the white students study in better private schools, which are not affordable for the African American students. So, which category or which group of students are getting better education here? Are the whites, are the white students, right? So you can see such kind of differences still existing. So even this act was introduced. Okay, now we will see some of the challenges of democracy. So we can understand the fact that no country can be said as completely democratic. Okay, we will see the reason for this. So there exists inequality or discrimination in almost all democratic countries. Okay, then uh, there are struggles for recognition for all, then struggle for maintaining the dignity, then struggles for equality on existing as well as new ideas. That is like the equality of women. If we consider, it was not a matter in the earlier days, but you can see equality of women as being one of the important idea today, right? So the people are struggling for women equality. So like that, new ideas are there on which the people are trying to uh, get or achieve equality.